large language models are trained on huge internet database. And we know that internet may contain every type of content that may inflict harm to the human society mentally or physically. So we can say such models are very much capable of being used as a tool to provoke human damage. Now, although there are many techniques like content filtering which is being used by these companies in order to avoid objectionable data, they are still not sufficient to be called as safe. So to fulfill that gap, RLHF or Reinforcement Learning from Human Feedback is used as an effort to align the trained LLM models with human values. Now, when I say human values, I know that the topic is very vast and subjective. So for our case, let us consider what OpenAI has to say on this. Now, according to one of their research papers, the language models should follow these three qualities, which is honesty, that is, the model should not fabricate any information or mislead the user. Helpfulness, that is, the model should be able to help the user in solving their task. Harmlessness, that is, the model should not physically, psychologically harm the people or the environment. Now, these three values are collectively coined under the term HHH or Triple H. Now, we'll see how RLHF will help the models to align with these three qualities in our case. Let us look at the term itself. If you see, the term itself is divided into two components. One, reinforcement learning, and second, human feedback. Now we'll look at both of the terms one by one in order to better understand the concept. First, let us understand the basics of reinforcement learning. Now, reinforcement learning is a type of machine learning technique that contains an agent and an environment. The agent, when in a current state, can choose a certain set of actions to do in the environment in order to reach a new state ST. Based on this new state action pair, it also gets a reward. Now, the whole aim of the agent is to maximize this reward value in order to achieve certain goals. Now, these goals could be as simple as learning a tic-tac-toe problem or as complex as learning how to walk with the bipedal robot. Now, let us look at the formulations that we use in reinforcement learning to achieve our targets. So, don't get discouraged by these complex terms. Just be with me, I'll be explaining each of the terms one by one. So, if you see on the lower side of the equation, there is a function called pi theta, which is also called policy. Now, policy decides what action the agent must choose when in a current state Si-1. Just notice, for the current state I have used Si-1 and for the next state I have used Si or St. But at different places you will also find they have used Si for the current state and Si+1 for the new state. But both are the same things, right? Now, based on this policy, the agent will get different rewards over a certain period of time or over an episode. Now, episode is simply the number of actions the agent does from start state to an end state. Now, our goal is to maximize the expectation of this sum of all the rewards that the agent gets over an episode. And this formulation is the core of reinforcement learning that helps agent to achieve certain goals. Whole lot of information, right? But let's take a simple example in order to understand the whole concept. I'll bet you will understand it in a moment. Let us consider there is a cat which acts as an agent. And there is an empty room and the owner of the cat which acts as an environment. Now, the owner of the cat commands the cat to lie down. Now, the cat hearing this can choose different types of actions. It can choose to lie down, it can choose to run away. But cat chooses to lie down and reaches a new state where it lies. Now, seeing this, the owner decides to give a positive reward to the cat. In this case, a fish. And the cat just loved it. Now, the cat wants to maximize this reward, and next time, whenever the owner commands it, the cat will follow the command of the owner. And in that way, we have achieved a certain goal of training our cat for the owner. Simple, right? Now, once we have the right context of reinforcement learning in our mind, let's bring us back to the track and consider this whole concept in the framework of LLM or large language models. In this framework, LLM acts as an agent and the context window in which the text is written acts as the environment. Now we know LLM has to complete the text for the user, and it does that one by one by selecting the next character from the whole set of vocabulary, and that is the actions that it can choose in our framework. Based on this action, the agent will arrive at a new state, which is the updated text after updating it with the next character that it has chosen to write in the window. And based on this state action pair, it will get a reward which LLM will try to maximize. Simple, right? Now let me reiterate the goal that we want to achieve in our reinforcement learning problem, which is aligning the output of the LLM model with the human values. And if you remember, we have already considered these three human values from one of the research papers from OpenAI. But it is very difficult to find a reward function that can evaluate and assign reward values to the response of LLMs, because then the reward function itself needs to know what exactly are human values. And in order to solve this issue, humans are incorporated in this whole loop. And that is why the term reinforcement learning from human feedback. But there is still one issue left in this task. If you can see, humans have to assign reward values to the billions of queries the users can ask to the LLMs. But that is next to impossible. In order to solve that, there is an interesting approach of creating a reward model that will be trained by humans, and then this reward model will be used to assign the reward values to the responses of LLMs. Now, there is much more to see as to how these reward models are trained by humans by just using some limited number of responses, and then the trained reward model is used to fine-tune the LLM model, which will finally align the output with our human values. Now, I would like to end this video with a crisp summary. At the beginning, we started our discussion on why do we need RLHF at first place and how these LLM models can cause harm to our human society. Then we shifted our focus on discussing the basics of reinforcement learning along with an example. Once the basics were clear, we introduced the RL technique in the framework of LLMs and hence transitioned to RLHF. At the end, we also talked a little bit about reward models and how can they be helpful in the process. But wait, there is also a second part of this video coming soon where we will be discussing the techniques that are used by these companies in order to train this reward model by obtaining feedbacks from humans. Once the reward model is trained, we'll also see how we can use them to fine-tune our LLM models to achieve our final goals. Now, if you want to see the second part of this video or any such videos that will upgrade your technical knowledge in AI and machine learning, then do hit that subscribe button and like this video. And happy learning!